Okay, so in this video, we're going to go through the discovery call process. And this is the process that you do with a customer, a client, a prospect as soon as they show interest and you have booked an appointment with them. This is essentially that appointment, and it's called the discovery call. So here's why a discovery call matters. It allows you to connect with your prospect more on a personal level because you're on a Zoom. It also helps you uncover the main pain points or problems that that prospect is having, especially if it's a cold lead. You need to understand this way before you try to sell them anything. And you also get to extract their real business goals. And I'll show you exactly how we're going to do that in a bit. And it also allows them to ask questions about you and your offer. Sometimes they like you or they see what they like, but they have clarifying questions that are burning through their mind. And if they don't get them answered, they're not sure if it's going to be 100% yes to move forward with you. So we got to answer for them. So I want you to understand that on this discovery call, this is your opportunity. So a live call encourages the prospect to be more honest, provide detailed responses, and unveil the hidden clues that will seal the deal. Now, that's very important. This is something that you can't do if you just try to prospect through email and never jump on a call. When you're on this live call, people will be more honest. People are obviously more unfiltered. And so that's exactly what you want. You want to catch them almost in a sense off guard because they won't be able to, take their time to try to really think what they're trying to say. So they're going to tell you the 100% truth right off the bat if you ask them the right questions and you're genuine. And you also come from a place of curiosity and a place of wanting to help them. And they can sense that. So your tonality during these calls is also very important because you don't want to come off as salesy. And the only way you come off as salesy is if you have that sales tonality, the sales language, like all you're trying to do is get through the process to get the money. So just make sure you're aware of that. So this is why we shut up and listen. So again, because of this, the most important thing you need to do during this call is literally just listen and try to talk less, especially because the whole call, as you're going to see the structure, about 75% of the call is you just listening. So your job on this call is to guide the prospect through this discovery process, right? So you're the one hand-holding them throughout the whole call. You're supposed to gather key information on the prospect, and you're also supposed to build rapport and trust by conveying value. And I'll explain a little bit later on how we do that during the call. And you're also supposed to listen attentively and also make sure you record the call. So if you have Zoom or Google Meets, always make sure that your call is being recorded because obviously you can't take notes fast and your job is to listen more. So if you're like me, I suck at taking notes while on the call, so I don't even do that. I actually just record the call and just be 100% present and listening attentively to the prospect on the other end. So let's talk about the call structure. So what do these calls look like? So the first 5 to 10 minutes is usually just building rapport. You introduce yourself and you set an agenda. The next 15 to 30 minutes, that's where you ask questions, listen to the prospect, and take any notes, whether it's mental or written. And again, this is usually the bulk of the call. Sometimes it's even more than 30 minutes. And then the next 10 to 15 minutes is when you reverse the role and you have them answer and when you have yourself answer any questions that they have. So you have them ask questions to you and about your process and everything. Again, that's minimal. We want to keep that short. And then the last 5 to 10 minutes, we want to summarize, clarify their needs, and set expectations for next steps. Now, one important thing to note is that in the first 5 to 10 minutes for building rapport, I like to ask key questions that, one, obviously, if it's a brand new prospect, someone that you've never talked to before, the easiest questions to ask to just kind of break the ice is obviously getting to know more about them and asking them stuff like, where are you from? Are you originally from where you are, Florida, etc.? What made you start ABC company? So that's a very important question because obviously it has to do with the call, but you're also curious to know what made them start it. Like, what was their passion? Was it a passion? Did they buy it? Did they start it from scratch? And, obviously be very curious and keep asking questions along with that. And one key question you should ask when you're doing that 5 to 10 minute rapport building, especially if you ask them about how they started their company and where they're at, is ask them, cool, well, how has growth been? How many employees do you guys have right now? Because that employee question is going to be important later on for you to be able to create proposals and kind of gauge pricing for them as well. And as well as like revenue numbers if you want to get straight into it. Otherwise, you can ask that later. So let's move on. Now we're going to talk about the key questions you're going to ask. And this is part here where the middle one, 15 to 30 minutes, these are the questions you're going to ask in that second part. Right after you break the ice, you build the rapport, you get the small chat out of the way, you're going to go ahead and dive into these questions. So first question, curious to know, what made you book this call today? Right off the bat, this question will give you the main reason that is on top of their mind for wanting to talk with you. And again, I put in quotes main reason, mainly because this is just the first thing that's going to come out of their mouth. And it's usually not going to be the most important or the most valuable. Sometimes it is, but you get to extract more deeper problems as we ask more questions. So very important to ask this question and just listen to what they are saying to you. Next question. What are you trying to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months? Right? So now that you listen a little bit about why they booked this call, we'll ask them, what is your goal for the next 6 to 12 months? And then just listen again. And again, this specific question will help prompt them to tell you in detail what the long-term priority is in their business. So because we use 6 to 12 months, to them, obviously 12 months, a year, things can go by fast, but that's still a long-term priority. Whatever their goal is for the next 12 months, it could be for the next 2 to 3 years, right? And follow up on this question if you want to. If they give you a very short, simple answer, ask them, oh, that's great. What's your goal for like the next 5 to 10 years? Are you trying to sell the company? Are you trying to grow it? Or is there a certain revenue metric you're trying to hit? So that's very important in general. Ask them about their right now goals. Like, what is your desired revenue goal for the next 6 to 12 months? And then you can ask them about the revenue goal for the next 5 to 10 years. And, obviously they might give you something like $1 billion and let them have fun with it. But you need to understand where they're coming from and what their goals is, so you know where their desire is at. Next question you're going to ask them is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing trying to get there? So now that you know exactly where they're trying to go, you know a little bit about why they booked this call, you know their goals, the next 6 to 12 months, you might know the next 5 to 10 years. Well, what's holding you back from trying to get there, right? Ask them and be detailed. Obviously, some of these questions you might have to paraphrase or rephrase based off what they're saying. And just, make sure you use the context that they're telling you, restate what they're telling you to keep asking these questions so that they know that you're tuned into exactly what they're talking about. But again, this question specifically will extract the quote unquote bottleneck or problem that is affecting the growth of the company. Solving this means that they can grow. So again, obviously the biggest challenge, anytime someone hears that, is usually a factor that is limiting them from moving forward, from growing, from being able to take another step to being able to break down the dominoes. So the domino effect is, you break one down and then you get to the next one and then you get to the next one, but you have to do it in order. So this right here is going to give you a big bottleneck in the business that you can either use for leverage to either provide a solution for them, or you can use to help understand what their problems are. Okay, next question. If we provided X, which is where you will insert what service you're selling, in our case, it could be a website, or it could possibly be a software, or it could be a mixture of like a website plus a tool within the website that we're trying to sell them. If we provided you with this new website that has the features that you're looking for, what results would you like to see? Like, tell me a little bit about your expectations of doing a project like this. And again, this question will help paint a picture for you to understand how they see your solution impacting their business. And again, this will give you a good gauge of like what they're expecting from you as well. So if you're offering them the website plus maybe even you want to include in there running ads to get traffic to their site, this will tell you like what they're looking for. Sometimes they're actually looking for sales, like a very specific number, or sometimes they're just saying, hey, we just want traffic. We just want to showcase that we're actually getting visibility. We're getting eyeballs, we're getting clicks, and we're getting form submissions. So another question you're going to ask is, where do you currently see the most success come from? Now, this question will provide you with the solution, the strategy, or the method that is currently giving them results. Now, this is important to know, and I usually like asking these questions because, one, I'm actually curious to know what is working for them. But aside from that, I can use this as leverage or take inspiration from whatever is working. And like I said, this is something where you can strategically find out if something's working for them. Obviously, they're going to double down on it, or if they're not already doing so. But you can provide a solution, a new solution, or an extension to the solution that also coincides with this method or strategy that they're currently using. Let's say, for example, they're running mailers, and mailers are working really well for this business. Physical print mailers being sent out to addresses. Well, maybe they don't have a website, and that's what we're selling them. And so now we can say, oh, okay, tell me a little bit about the mailer, la la la. You learn a little bit about the process. You know that they have a QR code that goes into some cheap, landing page created by the mailer company, whatever. So now you can say, well, that's great to know, because what we can do is we can create you a custom landing page inside your new website that will showcase your specific services and will be dynamic, and it will showcase the exact services for that specific campaign, etc. So it's more tailored to them. They see it more personalized on their end, and they're going to see you as a, reputable company to work with. Boom. So now we just use something that's already working for them, and we combined it with a solution that we're going to build for them, almost like we're assuming the sale. And we're just giving them ideas and providing value off the bat from this call, just by giving them those type of ideas that they probably are not thinking about, because you're the expert on the digital web solutions. So now we've asked all these questions, and before we transition over to the next part of this call, you have to make sure you restate the problem and goal to them, right? So you've asked all these questions, and you've been shutting up, and you're keeping your mouth closed, and you've just been tuning in and listening attentively. So now, either, again, if you're brand new to this and if you've taken notes because you know that you can't do this at the highest capacity yet, that's fine. But, take out your notes and let them know. Okay, so really quick, I just want to clarify this. This is exactly what you're looking for, right? So from what you shared, you're looking to solve X problem and achieve Y goal. Is that correct? Right? And just say it like this, and obviously ask them at the end, is that correct? And they're going to say, obviously, yes, if you did restate it exactly how it is. And that's what you want. We just want to keep getting these small little yeses and nods, and just them always just shaking their head in connection to what you're saying, so that they're subconsciously being like already saying yes to everything you're saying, which will make the closing a lot easier in the future. If they love what you're talking about, you're giving them value, you're actually being curious, you're actually asking them questions and wanting to know more, and wanting to actually help them, it's going to come out, and they're going to see it, and they're going to want to work with you. So now it's time to switch roles. So what do I mean by that? Now you have to ask for permission. And this is what you say. Now that I understand a bit more of what you're looking for, do you want to know how our solution works? Right? And so notice there that I had to ask the question, which is asking for permission. Again, 99.9% of the time, they're just going to say yes, because that's why they booked this call. That's why they're talking to you. But because you stated this as a question and want permission for them to move forward, they feel like they're in control, and they don't feel like they're getting pitched. They actually are asking for it. So that's why we're making it why we're kind of stating this as a question instead of just going straight for the pitch, because everyone hates getting pitched. So don't just, transform all these questions and all of a sudden go straight into a pitch. Instead, ask them the question, ask for permission to have them, to make sure that they want to learn more about what you offer and your services. Once they say yes, now you can move forward and actually continue with the call. Again, this is key for them to feel in control. So your presentation, this is exactly how you're going to present your side of the story. And again, we're keeping our part short because most of the call was just asking questions and listening. So keeping your presentation short, You want to convey the highlights of how your solution solves their short or long-term problems. So follow this 3-step process that I just created, and I called it the EMA or EMA, and it stands for explain, merge, and ask. So first, explain. Briefly explain the steps you take to create the solution. Again, we're talking about websites in this specific video, but whether it's social media management, no matter what service you're offering, just briefly explain exactly the steps you take to create the solution for them. So here's an example, very quick and simple. So we create a custom website by doing strategic research to understand your industry and competition. Then we also create a wireframe, which looks like this, blah, blah, blah. You kind of show it to them. Wireframes allow us to save time and money by curating a design prototype so that you can view, revise, and then approve the final design before going into development. Now, this is key because once approved, we build the entire web project utilizing a high-level tool called Webflow, which is used by many Fortune 500 companies. Again, this is very short, and obviously this is more scripted, but you just explain it and it should be this short and this simple, and just showcasing a couple slides if you have something, or some visuals also are very helpful, especially when it comes to creative services like web design or video editing, etc. So second thing is merge their problems and goals to your solution. So obviously once you did that quick 3-step process of what you offer and how you do it, then you go ahead and explain how it works with them. So this process will allow us to create custom solutions to be able to help you qualify your leads by having a more robust form, which helps your salespeople save time so they can focus on calling only qualified prospects. And again, this is just an example of like what the prospect has told me. I'm using exactly what they told me like their problem was, which was their salespeople were wasting time calling unqualified leads. So I mentioned how this solution is going to help them solve that problem. And so we continue. Additionally, we will design your new website to include an educational hub so that your prospects can utilize the educational database to learn about your process and provide value upfront to help establish your brand as you grow. Again, I've used this as an example for this scenario where the prospect has told me that one of their long-term goals was to build a brand and become a reputable company that provides value to their clients. And so that's why I kind of said, hey, this is why our process works like this, because we can create stuff like this educational hub that's going to be able to, help you showcase your work and your educational courses and your this and that, and help establish your brand as you grow. So, and again, most of these things, obviously, because you didn't know them, I make these on the fly because I listen attentively. And so this part is not part of like a script or is part of a slideshow. I just tell them why our process is unique and how it's going to help their business specifically. And then the last part is you ask. So once you get those 2 parts out of the way, then you prompt them to ask any questions and get clarification. So here are some questions you ask them. What questions do you have about our process or how we can help? Is there anything you'd like me to elaborate or explain more in detail? I'm curious, now that you know our process, what questions does this bring up? And then that's it. Just have them ask questions. A lot of them will have questions, especially if it's a new prospect and you're offering something cool, innovative, and something that they've never done before. So they will have questions. Just make sure you answer them to the best of your abilities. So that is it. Now we have to close the call. And again, most of the time, when we're doing these calls, the discovery calls, they're not necessarily meant to be sales calls. It's why it's called a discovery call. It's just discovering their pain points, their problems, who they are, what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are. And if it's a cold call, or if it's a cold lead, should I say, someone that you've never talked to before, wasn't a referral, wasn't someone you know, wasn't a friend of a friend, this is a cold lead that you're talking to right now. This is what I would do. I would make sure that you have a gauge that they are actually a good prospect for you, almost like pre-qualifying, right? And so this is kind of what this process looks like. Now, there are some times where this close of the call is as simple as just like saying, hey, awesome, well, glad to meet you. and especially if it's a warm call, all you have to do is close the call and then say that you're going to send them a proposal, and then you send it to them and they sign it, and that's it. That usually works more for warm leads, but for cold leads, it's time for the money question. So the prospect will either ask you about costs first if they haven't already. So if they don't, you will have to bring up the burning question that is on everyone's mind, right? You're a stranger, he's a stranger, they're a stranger, everyone's strangers here, but everybody wants to know, how much money is this going to cost? So now it's time for the money question. So here's what you say once you're closing the call. Hey, great talking to you. It was great kind of knowing a little bit more about what you're looking for and a little bit about your company. So before I draft the proposal here, I'm curious to know, do you have a target budget for this project? So that's it. All you ask, and you stay quiet and you let them answer the question. Sometimes they will give you a budget, and I've had that happen actually a couple times, multiple times, to where they give me a budget that I was actually higher than expected, because some of these people were just like single business owners, which they didn't have a lot of employees or anything like that. And surprisingly, they gave me a budget higher than expected. And so that way I knew that I can charge up to that budget, or I can, do whatever feels appropriate for their project. And most of the time, when I mentioned in the beginning, when you start and break the ice in the rapport building phase, it's good to ask them about where they're at now, right? Talk to them first about how they started their business, what made them start. But if you've asked them where they're at now, like where are they in terms of revenue? Like, have they won any awards? How many employees do they have? This is another good gauge of kind of understanding where they should be at with budget. And so if they have over let's say if they have 2 to 5 employees, that's a gauge where on a website project, you can charge anywhere from 3 to 5,000. If they have 5 or more employees, like 5, 10, 15, that's when, obviously, as long as it's appropriate for the project, if they're asking you for something that's complex and has a lot of bells and whistles on it, then you can charge $20,000 for something like that. 15, 20, 25. And obviously the more employees, the more revenue, the more you can charge. And obviously according to the complexity of the project. But this just gives you a little bit of a gauge on knowing where they should be at. Not to say that they're supposed to have the money you're looking for, but that's just a good gauge. But let's just say we didn't ask them about the employees. You don't know yet what the revenue is at. Here's exactly what the conversation looks like. So you ask them, before I draft the proposal, I'm curious to know, do you have a target budget for this project? And they will say, no, I'm not sure what something like this even costs, or I don't know, can you tell me what this will cost, right? Sometimes they will hesitate to give you a budget. Sometimes they do, and if they do, great. You can go from there, figure out whether it works for you or not. But if they say something like this, where it's kind of vague, they don't really give you a budget, they actually want you to give them a cost first, this is what you'll say. It's hard to give out an exact number until I crunch the numbers, right? Or it's hard to I can't give you an exact estimate. I kind of need to go on my back end and kind of make sure that the numbers make sense. But for context, similar projects like this that we've done cost between, and then you insert a low and a high number. And what you're going to do here, the low number you're going to insert here is kind of like the bare minimum you're willing to take for this project. And the high number is something kind of, 50% over what you're actually expecting to. So essentially between the low and the high number is kind of the budget you're kind of expecting, right? Because that's essentially what you're saying if you read between the lines here. For context, similar projects we've done like this cost between the low and high number. So usually right in the middle. But you're not going to say that. You're just going to say exactly how I said it right there. And once you give them this low and high number, you shut up and you remain silent. You wait for them to say something. You wait for them to speak. You wait for them to acknowledge, but you don't say anything. You just say, yep, that's it. And now this is where you're going to see whoever speaks first obviously is going to lose, just like in the Wolf of Wall Street. And so if they say, again, I'm doing these slides in the worst case scenario, sometimes once you give them that low and high numbers, like, oh, okay, perfect, cool. Yeah, send us a proposal and we'll take a look at it. And that means like, yeah, they probably don't worry about the budget and like they love everything you sold them and they're good to go. But now let's just say worst case scenario, oh, that's a bit pricey. I'm not sure if we have the budget. If they say that, then you say, no problem. Just for clarification, what target budget makes sense to you? So we're asking them, okay, well, if that's not in the budget, what makes sense to you? And if they say any number less than you think is worth your time, let's say the minimum you were willing to take was 2,000, or let's just say for this example, it's 5,000 and then their budget is 3,000, right? And you'd like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, this and that. And so I don't think it's worth 3,000. I need it to be at 5. Let's say it's that. Then you say, got it. Here's the thing. I understand what you want. I'm just not sure if I'm the guy to do it for you. Help me understand here if there's anything that I'm missing. So like, here's what I heard you say today. And then you restate the pain points. And so you go on and say, you told me that, Bill, you don't have a modern website and you're kind of losing customers as you go because people don't know how to navigate the website. They don't even know how to get to the contact form. Your salespeople have been losing some deals because they're just wasting time with unqualified leads. And so if, you're having all these problems, and if you don't solve these problems today, what is it going to cost you in terms of lost opportunities? And then you wait for them to answer and they'll tell you, and sometimes you might even know because they might have said it beforehand, but they'll say, yeah, we'll lose, X money / opportunities. Yeah, well, we're going to be losing some money if we don't get this solved. Right. But you want to understand that because there's a deeper problem. It's never about the money. And then you say, okay, so if you stand to lose, $50,000 every month, every day, every week, does $5,000 seem like an appropriate amount of money to spend to solve this? I'm curious. What do you think? So now that we portrayed and we actually changed their perspective on the cost and the value of it, all the business owner cares about and should care about is saving time and saving money, right? And so everything else doesn't matter. And so for you, the thing that you're solving is going to save them either one of those or both of them. And technically it is saving them money because even though they're going to spend more with you, they're going to save all of this lost money and opportunities that they're already like keep losing because they haven't implemented your solution. A brand new website, this new tool, this new plugin, this new social media marketing campaign, right? So that's where you want to make sure you change their perspective on how they're thinking about your solution so that they see the full value in what you're doing. It's not just, exchanging their money and then you're putting in time to make some random project. No, the project is meant to help solve their problem, their deep rooted problem that we just discovered during that whole 30 to 40 minute, question, like interrogation that we essentially did in the beginning. We understood exactly what they're going for, what they're looking for, and what they're losing out on if they don't implement this. So now you make sure you let them understand, like, hey, every day that you don't take action and, redesign your website in a more cohesive, user-friendly way with tons of value to help nurture your leads, you're going to be losing a lot of money. So does $5,000 seem like appropriate to amount of money to spend to solve this? And again, any business owner with common sense is going to understand it and it's going to say, yeah, actually, you're right. Let's do it. So again, we'll save some more sales negotiation tactics for another video, but that was just a quick rundown of what a discovery call should look like. Like I mentioned, most of the time, if you're brand new to this, you're not comfortable with sales and you kind of get caught up in words and stuff like that. It becomes easier once you practice, if you role play and you get a couple of these repetitions under your belt, but let's say if you're brand new and you're a newbie and you're kind of scared, you get sweaty, you get super nervous getting on these calls, the one thing I want you to do is focus on actually caring about the person on the other end. Stop acting like a salesperson. Stop thinking you need to be a salesperson, and just curiously and honestly, very empathetically, really want to help them. Like, understand what their problems are. It's almost like you're talking to a family member who's going through a hard time, right? The way you would talk to them is not like you're trying to sell them into therapy or you're going to sell them into some type of drug or something like that. You're literally asking them, hey, what's going on? What's the problem? Talk to me, right? And then all you do is listen. Just like you would do for a family member, you're going to do for a business owner. And you're just going to listen. Ask them the questions that kind of just engage them to be in a mindset to be able to actually provide you the real deep-rooted problems, but listen to them. And if you know that there's no chance or there's no way that you can actually help them, be honest. Just say, hey, man, I don't think I'm going to be the right guy for you. It seems like what you're doing is a little bit too complex. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have the skills or the knowledge to be able to solve that for you, right? Stop worrying about the money. Because the more in this call you try to chase them, they will run. If you are very non-salesy, don't even care about the sale, disassociate yourself with the sale, and really just like honestly just care about them and just say, hey man, I'd love to help. I know your budget isn't like this, but I don't think I'd be a perfect fit for this project, but here's a referral for someone who could probably do it cheaper. And if they don't work out, I'd be happy to help you at at my price point, but this is how it is. And like I said, once you disassociate yourself from the sale, they're going to be like, no, actually, I want to work with you. I like everything that you're doing. So, but just practice. Practice makes perfect. So again, now once we wrapped up with this entire call, just make sure you schedule the next steps. This is the last thing, the last 2 minutes, even 60 seconds of the call. Do this before ending the call. Make sure you pull out your calendar and ask them what day and time they can lock in to go over the proposal. Make sure you send them a calendar invite then and there, because you want to just lock it in. You don't want to wait in email because they might not even reply. They might get busy. Things go on for business owners. So make sure you lock in the next perfect time and day that you both agree to, and it's in your calendar on both of your calendars. And then explain that you will have some valuable ideas you'd like to share for this project and that in that next meeting, and that you want to kind of go step by step over the proposal and kind of showcase what it looks like and answer any questions they have. Like, that's essentially what it is. The next call is just for you to answer any questions they have, and that's it, because they're 100% going to be ready to buy. So hopefully you found this helpful. Again, we're going to go through more stuff as we build out this entire course. So if you have any questions about this, anything else Lumen, just make sure you send me a message on school or at this on the post threads. And yeah, we'll keep making some more videos.